Hey there, welcome to the channel and greetings from Koh Samui. Glad to be back after about 3 weeks traveling around China. I think I left around, what's today? Let's see, August 25th. So I left on July 31st for Chengdu and just arrived back here in Koh Samui about 2 days ago. So I've decided to come over to one of my favorite beaches here in Lamai and just record another quick video. So if you haven't been watching my channel, or you just discovered my channel, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And if you've been watching for years, then welcome back. I was recently in Hong Kong, if you've been following for a while. And that was my first time visiting Hong Kong. I've been wanting to go for quite some time. And I finally decided to make it happen because part of the rules and regulations of visa-free travel in China for American citizens is that you are required to go to a third country. So it's either Hong Kong, Macau, or Taiwan. So I went to Hong Kong, and my fiance flew back to Bangkok because she wanted to spend some time with her family, and she's actually still up there in Lopburi right now for a couple more days. Been missing her for a couple weeks now, and we'll be glad to see her, of course. That being said, I went to Hong Kong, and I was there for 5 days. I thought it was going to be a little bit too long because most people recommend just visiting for like 3 days. And that's enough to see around the city. But I booked 5 days because that was like one of the cheapest flights that I could find on AirAsia back to Bangkok. And the reason why I decided to fly into Bangkok is because, well, first of all, the flights are very cheap compared to flying directly into Koh Samui here. And also because I was supposed to attend a conference called NAS Summit, which was all about content creators. There were going to be supposed to be like 1,000 content creators there, and they were going to be talking about AI, which is something that I'm getting into more and more now. So I was really excited to attend that conference. I had already bought my tickets, and then, long story short, when I arrived at the airport in Dan Muang, unfortunately, I was denied entry into the country. And, I was going back and forth with the immigration officers explaining the situation. I was just traveling in China, 10 days visa-free, not really that big of a deal. So they looked through my passport and they determined that they were not going to let me enter the country. And I called up Mary, my fiance, on the phone, and I was talking to her for a while. She started crying on the phone because she thought she wasn't going to see me again, or who knows what exactly. And I was very kind of distraught about it as well, of course, as you can imagine, because I've never had an issue like this ever before at immigration. I've been doing visa runs for years, and this was the first time I'd ever had any issue at immigration. So it looks like they are starting to get more strict for people that are just kind of flying by the seat of their pants and they don't necessarily have the proper visa. So now, moving forward, I'm definitely going to be getting the non-O immigrant visa within the next, as soon as possible, the next few weeks. And that's going to be my plan for the long term. And then I could just extend that every single year. I do the 90-day report. But continuing where I left off, they forced me to buy another plane ticket, not comped or anything. I had to actually pay for it myself, back to Hong Kong that same day, and I had to sleep at the airport. I slept at the airport for about 6 hours, and I had to go through some rigmarole around like signing some papers and stuff as well, basically just confirming that I was denied entry into Thailand. And I didn't know what to do, right? So I just booked that ticket, and then I flew back to Hong Kong that same day in the morning, like around 6 a.m., the very first flight back to Hong Kong. And then that was another 3 hours. I had barely slept at the time, and I was exhausted. And then once I arrived at Hong Kong, there was basically like an air hostess, or I don't know what to call them exactly, somebody that was waiting there to pick me up and take me through customs and do all the stuff, right? And she was very friendly. I felt like I was getting VIP service or something in Hong Kong. So then after that was done, I just got my 90-day visa-free in Hong Kong once again. They don't even stamp your passport in Hong Kong. They just give you a little slip of paper that says, okay, you can stay for 90 days. That's all there is to it. Very easy. And I just decided to book a cheap hostel in the city center called the Check-In. And I stayed there for, I think it was like around 6 days or so. So 12 days total in Hong Kong between the two different visits. And yeah, it was great. You know, I got to see around the city a little bit more. I made some videos when I was in Hong Kong as well for YouTube and kind of just showing people around the city. And I will say that I do like Hong Kong quite a lot, but I don't think I would ever want to live there, just personally speaking, because it's very expensive. In fact, it's considered one of the most expensive cities to live in the world, right up there with Singapore and London. And there's actually a housing crisis there as well. I don't want to stay in hostels anymore, right? I've made that decision. So ultimately, no more international travel for me for a while until I can get the visa sorted. And then I'm thinking about maybe going to Kuala Lumpur, like on a visa run, to get that all dealt with. But other than that, I think I'm just going to enjoy paradise here in Koh Samui and no real plans to be traveling around unless I have a specific reason to go somewhere, right? If I'm, let's say, getting paid for a speaking event, for example, like in Bali. Somebody reached out to me recently in Bali and they invited me to some speaking event. Then I was going back and forth with her, and then she eventually just said, oh, we don't have a budget for this. So I'm like, screw it. I don't want to go to Bali anyway, to be perfectly honest. So I just decided to turn her down. And, you know, that's one thing that I'm trying to get better at, is just like traveling intentionally. Not just because I feel like going to a certain place, but because I have a specific reason to go there. And, you know, that's why I went to the Philippines, I guess, last year, and then also Da Nang this year for a speaking event. Intentional travel, that is the key. Still haven't been back to the States for over 5 years now. I keep telling myself I should go back and visit my family, but as far as I'm concerned, they've had an open invitation to visit me here in Thailand for, like, realistically about 3 years. Because of the pandemic, they weren't able to visit during that time. But otherwise, you know, open invitation. And why wouldn't you want to come to a place like Samui, honestly? Even just when you land at the airport, for me personally, I feel like I'm back home again. And this overwhelming sense of relief just washes over me, and I feel like there's more, like I have more freedom again. For some reason, like, it just seems like every time I land at the airport in Samui, I feel like, like a weight is lifted off my chest. Especially after coming from a place like Hong Kong, right? This hustle and bustle city, people trapped in the rat race, going to work, just going through the motions, right? They're not really actually enjoying their lives. That's the way it seems like to me. They're just going through the motions. And there's a much better way to live. And luckily, this was my very first time flying international on Bangkok Airways. And it was a really fun experience. It was a beautiful flight, and we were coming in during sunset to Samui. I will say that the flights in and out of Samui, if you don't know already, are very expensive compared to other airlines because they have a monopoly. So they can basically charge whatever they want. And that's the one downside of Samui, is that the flights are quite expensive, especially from Hong Kong. And the flight from Hong Kong to Samui was actually mostly empty because it was a larger plane, and most people, they just don't want to pay that much, I would guess, for a flight. So if I do decide to go back to Hong Kong at some point, which I'm sure I will eventually, I do really like the city, and I've made some friends there as well, then I can just fly direct from Samui to Hong Kong, and it's only about 3 hours, so it's not even that long of a flight. No layover in Bangkok. And if I had it to do over again, I would have just skipped that conference in Bangkok and flown direct from Hong Kong to Samui. But the thing is, I didn't actually realize they had direct flights at the time. And, you know, like I said, I was planning on attending that conference. So that was like the main reason why I was going to Bangkok in the first place. And now it's just a matter of getting the visa situation sorted out so I can stay here long term without worrying about, you know, any more denials or like border runs and all this stuff that just gets kind of tiring after a while, right? So that's the plan. I just wanted to give a quick update for anybody that's interested, and hopefully you continue enjoying watching the channel. I'm going to be making more videos from Samui and possibly Koh Samui National Park, maybe if we go there again. I would like to go there again soon. It's really pretty close to Samui, and it's a beautiful national park, just about 4 hours away. But right now, just walking along this beautiful beach on a now cloudy day. It was just sunny a little bit earlier, and now the clouds are rolling in. So the weather can be quite unpredictable here in Samui, but got to take the good with the bad, as they say. With that being said, I'm going to sign off. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next one. Peace from Samui. Take care. Stay safe.